Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the eDiscovery channel. We're continuing our AI series, and I'm really happy to have with me today Herb Roitblat, um, who's been in the business as long as I have, and neither one of us will admit to how long that really is, at least not in a public forum. Um, but Herb is well known as an expert in search technology. Is He goes back with I'm working backwards now. You were with uh, Agentic, was that the last one?
Ignite.
Ignite, then Mimecast, Proofpoint, Orcatech, of course, for years, and,
Yes.
and then I go way back to the beginning with Dolphin Search. Um,
Yes. That's where we first met.
when you first met, I think we met in Seattle at
Yeah.
some sort of a conference or another. But
Yep.
Herb's been talking about and working with search technology in the legal field for years and years, as that list does. Now he's formally retired, which means he's not getting paid a salary, probably doing twice as much work for half as much money, right?
Well, if you ask my wife, I'm doing twice as much work for no money.
There you go. Um, are you still active? I know you were with the EDI for a while. You still working?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. Still on the board.
excellent.
Still helping to build that out.
Okay,
So
excellent.
that's in October in near Albuquerque.
Oh, Albuquerque this year. Great, 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 great. Um, and also the author of a great book, which I recommend to everybody, called Algorithms Are Not Enough, which should be the byword of all of these discussions. Right? It's not about the algorithms. So, two things I mentioned I want to really talk about, or have you talk about, if you would, um, and that's that in all the rush, the Oklahoma land rush to to use AI, especially in LLMs. As you mentioned, there's lots of AI and lots of different things out there that are used for a lot of wonderful things, but we're specifically talking about litigation support and LLMs and large document collections and how to um, organize those, review those, get them into some sort of working capacity. Um, what's your overall take? What are maybe the top misconceptions about AI and LLMs, and what are the things people should do to make sure they're using them effectively, in your estimation?
Sure, I'd be happy to talk about that. Um, First off, I am not opposed to LLMs, but you've asked me to focus on the negatives, so
And I feel I'm the same way.
I'll
I
do
tell
that.
people I'm not anti AI and I'm not anti LLM, but let's make sure we're using them properly. So yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, the subtitle of my book is Creating General Artificial Intelligence. So it's that algorithms are not enough for that, but you can do other things, and I'm in favor of doing that. The problem is not what they can do; it's what people think they can do that they can't, and that's where the issues come in. There are lots of good uses for language models. They can suggest searches. They can suggest now even search strategies. They can help a lot in a lot of different things, but they are not people in a box. They are language models, which means that they model, guess what? Language. And not just in the legal space, but in the computer science space, people then go and attribute all kinds of other capabilities to these models that they don't have. They are not geniuses. They are not PhD level intellects. What they do is they paraphrase language patterns that they have learned in their training. And they're trained on just about everything you can think of. They're trained on basically the entire World Wide Web, basically every book that you can think of, including some that they apparently got through less than honest means. And so they have a record of everything that's been published on, particularly on the web. So when they pass a bar exam, what they've done is they've memorized the sources of the bar exam. it's not that suddenly become lawyers. There's more to being a lawyer than passing a bar exam, I hope. And so the problem comes with over attributing what they can do. The second problem is
And I'm sorry, let me
hallucinations.
just interject real quickly.
Sure.
You said they a couple of times, and it always occurs to me: is there a finite number of LLMs out there? Are there a finite number of programs that we're dealing with? Or, let's say we've got 100 vendors in the legal space. Are they using one of, say, 10 different models?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the number is, but it's somewhere around 10
Yeah.
what they call foundation models.
Okay. Sorry.
And then they build variations on that. They'll do some extra training of this sort, or they'll do some training of that. And that training makes a difference. I don't want to say that it makes no difference. But even out of the box, they do a pretty good job with a lot of things, but they have no representation of truth. All they know is what's the probability of a word given the other words that it's got. And if we expect them to know what's true from what's not true, that's when we start running into problems. And for reasons that I do not understand, that's been called hallucinations. When they fabricate information, that's called a hallucination. So at Ignite, for example, when we were first starting out, after they became prominent, we wanted to experiment with them. We tried to build a help desk application, and we could ask it questions, and it would give us nice answers. Some of the answers it gave us were really good answers, but they were about some other product that we don't have. So it would tell you very carefully how to do something that the Ignite product at that time just didn't do. And there is a site that looks at that collects the cases from around the world where they fabricate citations or they have hallucinations in the body of the briefs and so on, of things that are submitted to the court, and they're just completely made up.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
science,
we checked on that just to make sure people know that's called AI hallucination cases, and it's run by a gentleman named Damien Charlotte. That's an unfortunate name. Charlatan. Charlotin is how it's spelled. And what did you say? 221 so far?
yeah,
Yeah.
221 so far. When I first looked at it in June, it was 130.
Yeah.
Now it's 221. I heard about a case where the judge cited a fabricated citation or two, and that has a risk of greatly interfering with the legal process if we base our conclusions on fabricated data. We're not going to come to sound conclusions.
Right.
Uh, the so we have to be careful, and that's really the main thing. It's not that they can't be used. It's not that they're useless. It's not that in my opinion, we don't need special rules. We just need to be careful that what we say, whoever we is, what we say is real, is valid. Just because the computer sounds like it knows what it's talking about doesn't mean that it does. Now, all that said, the most common applications, I think, for AI in eDiscovery are suggesting searches and summarizing results. And in terms of summaries, I think that they're pretty good. They're relatively reliable. But again, trust but verify, or don't trust but verify.
Yeah. Verify.
Uh,
Right.
verify and take responsibility for what's being produced, because it's embarrassing if you get it wrong. There are some other applications where people have gotten into trouble is using them to draft things like briefs and so on. There was one case where the expert for Anthropic used it to draft a brief and got things wrong, and didn't notice it. So those are the kinds of things that can get you in trouble. On the other hand, they can be good for suggesting things that you might not otherwise think of. They
Right.
can be good for identifying named entities in documents. So, for example, find me all the names that are mentioned in here. Find me everybody who might be a lawyer, and they are assistant to the humans. They're not replacement for the humans.
That's
So,
and that's the big fear. We hear an awful lot about that, right? It's going to cost us our jobs. They're going to replace lawyers. I think you made the great point about the bar exam. Well, until a until a computer gets sworn in someplace,
yeah.
I just don't see that happening. Um,
Well, it's interesting you say about replacing jobs. There are many jobs in eDiscovery where we force people to behave like robots. And we say, don't think, just read this. Those are the people whose jobs got replaced when we switched over to predictive coding and so on. And those are the people who are most at risk of having their jobs replaced in the future. If that's all they can do, then yes, their job is at risk. But most jobs have way more to them than acting like a robot. And most jobs, well, here's the example that somebody told me. Nobody ever said, "Oh, we've done enough on this case. We're going to take a break and maybe go on vacation till it appears in court." Um,
that's
there's
very
never enough time.
yeah.
There's never enough time. So use the time that is freed up by using any kind of automation. Use that to do things that you might not otherwise be able to do. In that case, it's going to help you to be more effective than if you don't have it. And there's a saying that work expands to fill the amount of available time. When preparing for being in court, I think that the work is contracted to the amount of available
Right.
time, and this should give you more time.
So this all brings up, and you've made the point several times that they're not people in a box. These are model languages. They predict what the next words are going to be based on the words they've seen. Um,
Yes.
uh, are we misusing the word intelligence? Is that really intelligence? Maybe it begs
Well,
the question: what
okay.
is intelligence?
You open a big can of worms there. Um, we we don't have a formal definition of intelligence, and I think we shouldn't. Intelligence is a natural concept, and it has to do it sort of vaguely with being able to do intellectual tasks better, being able to predict things better, and so on. All of these models are limited intelligence. They're what's in the field called narrow artificial intelligence. Where the cleverness has come from is in people figuring out how to make a wide variety of tasks fit in to the narrow intelligence that's derived from reading just about everything on the web. And so they have some intelligence, but it's not a general intelligence. And general artificial intelligence or artificial general intelligence is not imminent. Eric Schmidt said the other day that he thought it was within 5 years, but that we would need 92 gigawatts of power to run it. And that's roughly 92 nuclear reactors. And there's no way that 92 nuclear reactors will be built in time to support
To do that?
uh,
Yeah,
his
yeah,
super intelligence.
interesting. So that somewhat begs the second question, general question I was going to ask, that I mentioned to you earlier, which is one of the next evolution of this seems to be what people are calling agentic artificial intelligence, which is trying to take over some of those early steps of having the people pose the questions, feed the questions, the issues, whatever. And it's almost like some of these companies are doubling down instead of taking a better look at what we're doing and saying let's be smarter about this. It's like no, we're just gonna, it's the computers will do it all. Trust us. That's kind
Yeah.
of scary to me.
Well, and it should be. Uh, just read a report. Um, I can't remember who it was from. That looked at agentic AI and tried to get some sense of what's really happening business wise with it. So, first, on the theoretical end of it, agentic AI is just a language model that can do stuff. So, it can't be any smarter than the underlying language model. It can, some of the things it does is go out and search, so it can know more, but it can't be any smarter than the underlying language model.
Good point.
Language model, they use the language model often in agents to do reasoning. The reasoning that a language model doesn't directly reason, it paraphrases reasoning that it's learned from having read all those documents and through some human reinforcement, some human feedback. So again, it can't be any smarter than the language model that's underneath it. There's a big issue with trust. To what extent do you let it to be autonomous? Are you going to give it your credit card and let it go off and buy stuff? I will tell you that at one point, it wasn't my credit card, but when I was paying a bill online, I missed the decimal point and ended up paying 100 times what the bill was.
Oh, ouch.
So, do you want to let your agent autonomously go off and do stuff like that? The bank, by the way, helped me get it all back.
Good.
So
Good.
it all got solved. But I
So it
assume.
still comes back to the human. I use the term broadly, supervising what's going on here.
Well, that's right. Yeah. And for the foreseeable future, it's going to. Now there are some tasks that you might let it be autonomous. Go find a time when Tom and Herb can have a meeting together.
Yeah. Schedule a meeting. Yeah, use my auto calendar to schedule a meeting. Right.
If that goes bad, it goes bad.
I can set up
So
an auto pay on my electric bill. Right. And
yeah, that doesn't take much intelligence, fortunately.
well, right. That's good. So
Yeah.
are all the other fear that's all involved here is sort of the Skynet fear that the
Uh-huh.
computers are going to take over everything. I mean, is that really realistic? Are we, are we going to have the Terminator?
Well, no, it's not. But let's go back to Eric Schmidt. I mean, he's saying super intelligence.
Yeah.
That would mean being smarter than everybody. And in the 60s, I.J. Good first proposed this idea that that a computer will be able to do anything that a human can do, anything cognitive. And among the things that it should do is to be able to write better computer programs.
Okay.
And so it would improve itself. And then a few minutes later, it would improve itself again because it would use this new intelligence to be a better programmer and improve itself again and take off. Werner Vang and lots of other people talked about this as a singularity, where the computer becomes so smart that it makes itself so smart that we can't even understand it.
Doesn't need us. What does it need?
Doesn't need it. We'd be lucky to be kept as pets. that's nonsense. And the reason it's nonsense, or at least the biggest reason it's nonsense, is that what makes these computers now intelligent is not the programming. The programming is convenient, but what makes it intelligent are the data. And the data do not self create in an explosive way that would let them get out of hand.
Right. Okay.
So if the data are limiting what it can do, I mean, self-driving cars are limited by the number of miles they can drive and the number of unusual incidents that happen when they're driving.
Right.
Um, you could drive faster, but just won't get data any faster. You just be more dangerous. And the rate of increase on the World Wide Web, as captured by Common Crawl, which is where they get one of the places they get their data, it's growing linearly. It's not growing exponentially anymore.
Ah.
So the available data for training is not sufficient to cause any exponential increase. Programming itself is not sufficient. OpenAI, in their technical report for GPT-4, showed that the rate of improvement of their models is slowing dramatically.
I saw that. Yes.
I mean, so you have to ask yourself the question, why did they release agents now instead of GPT-5? Well, because GPT-5 isn't any better than GPT-4.
Right.
So they did something else.
So they need something else to push. Yeah. Okay. So let's back up one step here and say, let me ask you, what advice do you give to lawyers who want to feel comfortable about working with LLMs? What do they need to know? How should they proceed?
I think the most important thing is use them, but don't overestimate them. That is, they can be helpful tools. When I started in this space, people would tell us, "No, I don't want to have the computer do anything. I can go through a box of paper faster
Yeah.
than you
Oh,
can
yeah.
put it up on the screen."
We've all heard that story. Give me the
Yeah.
documents. I can do it better myself. Yeah.
Yes. And then search got introduced, and they said, "Well, I don't know if we want to search. I don't trust it." And then we had to use keyword search, and then concept search came in, and I don't know, I want to do that because I don't. And then Watson won on Jeopardy, and that changed people's attitudes towards AI by a lot because now they could see the computer doing things, and today we've got these consumer applications that do stuff. It started with uh, Siri and others. Okay, it didn't come up. And people can use computers to do stuff. Then ChatGPT became available for consumers to use. That changed the attitude of lawyers that there is something there. And what is it then that they're going to take advantage of? Well, they're not, it's the same thing we've been saying several times now. They're not lawyers in a box. It's a language model. Treat it as such, use it. It can be useful, but don't think that it's giving you legal advice because it's not.
But at the same time, no reason to be scared of it either.
No,
It's not going to take your job away. It's not going to take your reasoning away. It's not going to replace you.
It's absolutely right. It's here's another story related to that. A few years ago, somebody said, "Oh, I'm going to use these LLMs to suggest military strategies." And I said, "You don't want to do that." And the reason they didn't want to do that, or in my opinion, was that it mastered past strategies. And what it would suggest would be a past strategy, which of course your opponent also knows. It's not going to generate new ones. So to the extent that your case fits in with things that are well known, it's going to be really useful.
Right.
When it starts getting into it depends land, which is pretty common in legal cases, then you're going to have to treat it more carefully.
That's an interesting point about the military. It made me think right away of that great line in the movie Patton with George C. Scott when he was fighting against Rommel and he outmaneuvered him at one point. He's up on a point looking at Patton or at Rommel's tanks come in and he turns to one of his guys and he goes, "He's a great tactician, but I read his friggin' book."
Yeah, that's exactly it. That
Great
is
point.
exactly it. That captures it 100%.
Great point. Great point. Well, Herb, I really want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me. It's always great catching up. I haven't, with all the the convolutions of COVID and just basically getting old, not like traveling anymore.
Not me.
Yeah, me. Like I just didn't go to New York this year, and I'm going to go to Ilticon in a few weeks just because I got to at least go once a year someplace so I can see folks in person.
Yeah,
I want to have these conversations and sit down and have a cup of coffee and you know, um, fight the entropy of age, right?
yes.
Get out and get around. So I really appreciate taking your time, and it's great to see you and hear your thoughts again. Any last resources you want to mention? Anything you're working on? The EDI I know you mentioned. Um,
Yeah, nothing. I've got stuff going on, but I'm not ready to mention
all right. Well, that all will be revealed at the proper
it.
time, right? Well,
Yes.
thanks again for your time, and as always, welcome your comments and your insight.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you.
You betcha.